Zoom meeting up? Yeah, Zoom meeting's up and running.
Okay. So I'd like to call to order the Planning and Development Committee meeting on September the 8th at 8:03 a.m. Early start. Okay, so
Start slide.
approval of the agenda, recommendation that the Planning and Development Committee meeting agenda for September the 8th, 2021 be approved as circulated.
That's fine.
Bushel, yes, all in favor? Carried.
I'm just praying.
Adoption of the minutes. Recommendation that the minutes of the Planning and Development Committee meeting held on August 11th, 2011 be adopted. Need a mover and seconder, Bushel, McCabe, all in favor, carried. I have another meeting to go to. I could chair this through the development services update, but I'm going to hand the chair over to Councillor Bushel when we hit item number 5, new business. Okay. So Planning and Development Committee applications, current development applications, Scott.
Yeah, we have the current applications on the screen. One more, Steffi, number 3. And a couple more were issued at the meeting on the 11th of August. I think we have one new one since that meeting on August 11th. So 1130 Riverside Ave that the committee's will be considering today. And other than that.
Okay, any comments or questions from the board? Councillor Bushel?
Oh, Scott, 510 Thompson Place, is that, what's that one under review?
That's the bioheat.
That's the bioheat. I wondered about that, yeah, okay. Thank you. Oh, and then the last one was Marvin Road. Is that for a campground?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so because I have a meeting at 9 o'clock and just for continuity, Councillor Bushel has agreed to chair the remainder of this meeting. So I'm just gonna slide over and give the
That was quick.
portion to Councillor Bushel. Thanks.
Hey, Councillor Bushel.
Chief Financial Officer Kelly, you're looking good. Yeah. It's fun. It's got a lot more space.
Okay, thanks everybody for coming. Yeah, I'll just basically I'll turn this new business over to Scott. Does Scott want to do this or Sarah?
This is Sarah.
Sarah, would you like to give us an update on the various permit for 1130 Riverside Avenue, which is Portside Court?
Correct, Portside Court.
Thank you.
So their tenure on the water is up for renewal. So they've been working through that process all the part of this year. And they're at the point now where the province will not finally issue that without making sure that they can get variances that they need. So initially we thought maybe the variance on the bottom side of their stand up to point. Along here, where they're, would you call that their dock abuts utilities. But we were able to find a variance. It just wasn't registered on title, so it made it difficult to files, which are mostly paper still. So there's some digging, but I found it. They still need a variance though for the size of the tenure. So the S2 marine zone on the water, it limits the size of this to 50% of the upland parcel. And this is just a touch over by 7%. So they need a variance for that. And they also need a water course development permit as well. So part of what they're doing with the tenure removal is they're also updating this to current standards for marinas. So here and here, up to about here on both sides. This has to be flow-through decking to allow light to pass through to the bottom of the lake. And they also have to put in some stoppers on the coasts to support this, yeah, so that it won't ground. So it can only go down to like, I think 1.5 at lowest low water, so it won't hit the bottom of the lake. They also have to bring it into compliance. So this happened between the changeover in the developers. This one berth is outside the tenure area, so they need to remove it. So that's what they're doing, so a development permit with a variance. And we're gonna take that to the next council meeting, not the one today, but we have about the 27th.
Great, thank you. Anybody have any questions or comments? No, that was pretty easy.
Well, I could comment on it, but it's this is an ongoing thing by Encounter and the Ministry of Environment to have docks not grounding. They did it at Waterways. It was one of the first ones. There's a far more cost-effective way to do it, but that's up to those people and the guy put it in. They'll be removing all the piles on the inside by what I'm reading and replacing them and putting in bracing underneath the docks to support it.
There's things going in, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not 100% certain that dock construction will withstand being supported in the air. So I'm assuming they might need more piles in there, but that's not our,
It's not our
our
issue,
place, right? So I don't have an issue with it. They can do as they see fit. It'll be interesting to see what it looks like when it's done. Because like that's I think the one at Waterways is when you drive by and the same as Riverside in the channel, they're actually an eyesore sticking out of the water like that. That just here, they're only actually float for maybe 2 months of the year. So anyway, those are my comments on it.
Thanks, Jeff. Malcolm?
And thank you. Yeah, didn't council, I think all the variances will probably be fine, but on the water development permit, didn't council at a previous meeting vote not to act on a request from CSRD for a water development permit?
This isn't CSRD.
I know it's not, but I mean, we've sort of, council said, no, we're not going to issue a water development permit. We're just going to defer it or stay it. So I wonder if that would cause an issue for council, the water development permit part of it.
Scott?
Yeah, no, I think what council passed a resolution, they weren't going to participate in the CSRD's education part on the rail trail, but yeah, I think we've never said we weren't going to issue water course development permits. Yeah.
Jeff?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, is it only pertained to the rail trail side of and it was to do with riparian areas. So,
Deb?
I was just gonna say, I agree with Jeff on the eyesore part. And of course, in that, and I know there's nothing we can do about it, but they are eyesores. And of course, you've got such a concentration of them and they're so high profile for the community. It's too bad that they're requiring them to be, but we just did it with our dock too. It's just, yeah, it's too bad.
Yeah.
I don't know. You can do some nice screening in front or something, but yeah, it's brutal.
Okay. Anybody else? Are we all good with that?
Is there any recommendation to council?
Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
yeah, having heard what Deb Heap just commented on, and yes, I've been on that channel and how unsightly it basically is. Like we talk about unsightly premises, those docks sticking out of the air. I mean, if you go in a boat down the channel, they're horrible to look at. I don't know, we make people put up screen. I don't know if you could make them put up something that actually would drape off the dock when it comes out, like whatever. It's an impossible task, I think. But if you actually have the opportunity to get in a boat ride, if either one of you, Scott, have you been up that channel and seen, you guys should get up there and have a look, because when you go through the channel, that's what, look at Riverside and then look at Waterways, old property. And I mean, it's just horrible right now. It's an absolutely ugly thing to look at.
Yeah, yeah, and so I just gonna say, maybe, like it's something we can investigate in terms of what you can do to make it look not so horrible, recognizing that this is a government requirement to build the docks in this fashion. I don't know, like just if we can hang, like things that roll down and have pictures on them. I don't know, it's just so awful, but
Anyway,
Ed Scott?
For the development permit area, I think only looks at like the fish habitat side of things. It doesn't, I don't believe it looks at form and character in the water course development permit area, the upland in the waterfront commercial looks at form and character, but that water course development permit area only considers kind of the fish habitat side of things.
and so through the chair, the reason that they have to change the whole structure, because that structure is actually a fiberglass pontoon, like completely encased. It's a one-piece deal. So to get the flow through, they have to put in new docks. So they'll be replacing the docks in that area anyway.
Not all of it, part of it already is full through by where the stairs come down onto the marina. So. Part.
Okay. Anybody else? I think staff is looking for a recommendation to proceed to the next level council meeting. Anybody want to make a motion?
You have one written up that you want?
Sorry,
Do you have a motion written up that you would like?
I don't.
I could just,
Any recommendations?
I'll say that the planning committee recommend that staff bring permit 21-273 to council for consideration, and we're recommending approval.
Okay, seconder? Yeah. All in favor? Okay, great. There you go, Sarah. All right, moving along, 5B, Zappone Road. Is that you, or Sarah?
Yes, it is. Thank you, Chair. Just an update on that one. Yeah, we haven't really heard from the property owners. We haven't heard from the adjacent property either, who could influence the road. So yeah, nothing new to report on that one.
Okay, anybody else have any comments?
Yeah, through the chair, I asked for if there was anything on it, because I thought that the developer next door was kind of in a hurry to get into the ground, but
Haven't heard anything.
they haven't come in. Super, thank you.
Okay, thanks for the update there, Scott. Okay, moving along, another update, I guess, for 1129 Riverside Avenue.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So 1129 Riverside Avenue, at the last council meeting, the development permit and the variances were issued by council with the requirement that the access for the garbage not come off Riverside and come off the lane at the back. So we're working with the owners there to get them that access off the lane. They've applied for the access permit. Operations issues that permit. And they're just looking at the trees and then adding some gravel to that, so they're not just driving through the mud. Get it? If you drive back down that lane, you can see like there's probably 6 to 8 dumpsters there already. So we've said they don't need to provide the enclosure like they would on Main Street. Just a gate, truck can pull up, they can slide the bin out, pick it up and go. So yeah, it's with operations right now, but yeah, looking to probably take down some trees and add some gravel to that lane.
That's good, Jeff.
Through the chair. So Scott, that was the one property on Shuswap Avenue, the first one in service. The other 4 lots back that fence have no services. So it was discussed some time ago, like 5 or 6 years ago, about putting services to those lots because they're paying property taxes and they got nothing. They don't got water, they don't got sewer, I don't even think they have power. So is that on our public works to do?
Sarah?
Chair, so what Jeremy, the engineering technologist indicated was that, yeah, it was projects with previously, I guess it changed and it's not on there anymore, but there are services up to the beginning of that lane. It's all there ready to go. They're just waiting for production of that on the project list to do it.
Go ahead, Jeff.
So with this and just the continuation of it, I would recommend that
Okay.
we get staff to put this on the budget and get those lots. I mean, they're in our downtown core. And then we could actually do something with that road and make it look a little better. Because it does look like dumpster lane. And so if we actually put the services to those lots and actually pave the road, it would be an asset to the.
Thank you, John. So I guess that would be something you'll bring back to council and with a recommendation or we can all go over it and we vote on it.
So I'll probably bring it to Daryl and let him bring it to council.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's great. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah.
Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, through the chair. So, I mean, I don't know what the cost of that is exactly. It's not very far, but there are 4 lots there. And like for fire flow and stuff like that, I'm not exactly 100% certain. They like to make loops, so I'm not sure. And so before these guys start digging in the ground and there's an easement through their property, well, might be an opportunity to tie things together if it needs to be, so.
Okay, good. Thank you. Anybody else have any other concerns? No, that's good. Okay, moving on. Item 5D under new business, development approval information area and development approval information bylaw. Scott, you want to bring
Yeah, thank you.
the date on this one?
So the development approval information area is a tool you can add to your official community plan. And it would identify what information you could ask for. So what information staff could ask for in a form. And when someone makes an application and it would apply to a zoning amendment, development permit or temporary. Then when they make that application, then we give them a form and it's like, this is the information we'd be asking for. And so then the list below that is the different things you could ask for transportation patterns such as traffic flow, assessment of public facilities and the capacity of those, impact on or need for additional community services, assessment of slope conditions, assessment of wildfire interface. So right now we have our application form and it's kind of pretty bare. And so often people would make an application, then you say, okay, and can you address these things? And they're like, well, I didn't know about that. Where did this come from? An example might be on Shuswap, where we were dealing with one person who was just kind of refused almost to complete the application form. And every time we asked for any information, he said, where does it say that? Show me where it says that. So what we do is we could amend the official community plan. You identify the entire community as this information area. You identify the criteria you'd want to see. And then you update the forms. So when someone makes an application, you have a new application form, it lays it out. They submit that information to staff. Staff can ask them for more information. Sometimes someone might say, well, I'm not in the wildfire interface area. I don't want to provide that. And staff says, yeah, that's reasonable. Or they can go to council. They can have that opportunity to go to council and have council say, yeah, they don't need that wildfire interface because they're not in the area. So it's just another tool we can use in the OCP. And then we add a bylaw as well, development approval information area bylaw. Sarah and I will work on the application forms before we bring it to council. So then council can see that. We can bring it back to this table as well. But this is something that Sarah and I both worked with in the past, and it works pretty well. helps the developers, so they kind of get the information right at the beginning, what they're going to be asked for. And then some new forms to make it a little bit easier. But yeah, this is just really for discussion with this group, and we can bring it back to the next meeting once we finalize some things.
Great, thanks, Scott. Jeff?
Through the chair, thanks, Scott. Yeah, this is kind of something that I was looking for the last 7 or 8 years, so that when a developer comes in or anybody comes in and puts in my concern is that the way this reads, they'll have to supply all that when they put in the initial permit. Where your wording says bylaw 1010 will apply to lands in the district in specific what additional on and off site will be required. Well, you know, if it's flat ground, you're not going to require a slope assessment, I don't think. So could you maybe make the wording could be required instead of will be required? Just it gives them the heads up of what is a possibility. It's not saying that they're going to have to do all that, because I think that just becomes it's a word. The guy looks at it and goes, "Okay, I got to do all that before I build anything or even get my permit. I got a great big amount of money already out the door," right? We want them to come into the community. We want them to apply for a development permit, and we want to consider where the lot is, what's required, and what one of these things they may have.
It's
to do.
applicable.
So just soften that wording a little bit. It's indicated that it could be required, but you're saying will be required, including. So that would not apply to every lot, not in my personal opinion.
Go ahead, Scott.
What I've seen is like you give them almost a checklist, and it's like yes, no, maybe, and they kind of self-assess and they say no, I don't think I need to do this slope assessment. And then when we get it, we know that they have seen it, right? So they've seen it, they've said no. Staff can then look at it. If they agree, they say yeah, he doesn't need to provide it. But yeah, it's kind of like I've seen it work as a checklist.
Yeah.
We could.
But through the chair, all I'm saying is that it says development approval information bylaw. When it's a bylaw, whatever the wording in the bylaw is going to be what you're going to go by.
Right.
So if we could just soften that one line a little bit, this information may be required, not will be required, because then they got to go through, hire people and whatever. It's just right out of the gate, the developers aren't coming because they already don't know what their costs are going to be. And then they come in and they find out what their costs are going to be, and then they leave town. So it's better to have them that this information is available to them, and they look at it and they go, okay, this could be. And then they come in and they ask, and like you said, Scott, then you got this piece of paper with the check boxes. I like that. But we have to get it that the information is there so that there's no ambiguity, there's no later questions, there's no, well, we didn't know that. So, you know, this district of Sicamous is just raping us, and we don't want to hear that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff. Malcolm?
Yeah, thank you. I was just reading through number 9 to Councillor Momus's point. Number 9 does say that official may require information. So I think that's what Councillor Momus is looking for. It seems to be already there, really. It doesn't say shall or will, it says may on number 9 there, just at the opener. Following matters, the official may require information specific. So is that kind of what you were looking for? That seems to be, they may be there, Councillor Mullins. On number 9, the opener for number 9.
Yeah, maybe required.
It doesn't say shall or will, it says may, so.
Yeah, may require, so.
Yeah, no, that looks good. That be okay?
Yeah,
I agree, Jeff.
Thank you, Malcolm.
just make that wording the same as that document.
Consistent.
There as well.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And I might add, Scott, and maybe it would be a good exercise for us as the Development and Planning Committee to actually, as you put this stuff together, is to actually do review the application package and the checklist, and one of our sessions, we can actually go through it together and just make sure we got everything in there.
Yep.
Be great.
Do that.
Thank you. That's good. Anybody have any other comments on that? All in agreement? I think it's great to have a package available, so there's no, everybody knows going in what it is.
Yeah.
Sure. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. Okay. We'll move on to new business, item E. Street name bylaw. Sir, are you gonna do that or? Great,
All right.
thank you.
So you guys are all familiar with the Parksville Street development. So one of the conditions on the PLR that was issued on March 8th was that names be provided for the internal streets. So the developer was happy for the district to select those. So I've got a few proposals put together here that are in accordance with council's policy, PW18. It specifies names that are of a historical nature or based on an environmental relationship, or names of individuals that made significant contributions to the community. So I put together a list here, of course, that are based on that. So proposal 1 is wholly just based on council's policy. So it's a mix of historic names. These are settler families, I believe, that established farms in the area. And then the avenues there are trees, tree streets. Proposal 2 is a proposal that tries to take into account the fact that they're strata roads, they're private roads, they're not public roads. So there's a suggestion the committee may want to consider recommending the council to amend the policy or accept some slightly different terms instead of streets, avenues, walk, grove, row, to kind of recognize the private nature of those roads that are in there. And these are names, these are all shrubs. So instead of trees, they're shrubs, but in honor of the tree streets, which is the bulk of the neighborhood there south of Parksville Street. Proposal 3 is a combination of the two. So we've got streets and avenues or walks and rows. We've got, I mean, this really pays tribute to like people that work really hard to make these days. So we've got boats that worked out on the lake, and we've got the names of families that have made significant contributions. Block, Avenue A, Block, that is a name that council put on the list for use later. There was a request made of council. So these were longtime residents in the area. And then the following names are also all farming families. Area that established.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sarah. Jeff, would you like to comment?
Well, like proposal 2, and I agree that it's a private thing, so streets and avenues is probably not the right thing to do. But in proposal 3, because of the historical thing, Block, that's not Dale Block, is it?
No, that's Betty Block. Used to live on Riverside. They had a heritage home on Riverside Avenue.
Yeah.
And the Block family. So it's not related to, it's Jane Block. Right? Yeah.
So I like that proposal 3 personally as well. I don't know Murdoch or Norwood or Sutherland. I don't know I mean, Sutherland, is that the guy that had the barge?
I'm not sure about Sutherland, Murdoch Point.
Yeah,
Can't remember the other one. I haven't really done my homework on it.
yeah. I mean, like I said, I didn't either. But I'd like to ask that. I think one of the mainstays in our community has been Dutchman Dairy, and like it would be good to have something that had that name on it.
I think the name of the street that goes through is on that's named after the original separate government established that dairy farm originally.
There,
Okay,
So I'm sorry, I misspoke on proposal. The avenues are actually named after working class citizens. So some of these, like one of these was the cook for the lumber camp of the town. Another one was a first aid attendee that attended the emergencies early on. And the last one there, he was a postman. If I remember correctly, I have to go back and look.
okay. When you look there, Terry, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I have a comment. I was kind of wondering why we wouldn't call it McCabe Street, Bushel Avenue, and Almus Crescent. I was just looking at, the legitimacy of and how awesome you guys are. So, I mean, I would like to see that, but I like proposal 2 as well.
Marketing no homes on that street, eh?
that'd be throwing stones at it.
Sarah?
You could consider some of the historic names for actual roads if you wanted to, right? Like if you didn't want to use some of the private roads, you could reserve them for new public roads if you.
Okay, Malcolm?
Yeah, I agree. I think we should avoid using proposal 1 because it might start a slippery slope thinking that those are community streets. And then the next step is maybe the developer wants to decommission those and hand them off to the district. And they weren't really built to district standards. They were built to private development standards. So we don't really want to open that door. So I would avoid tree street names. I would avoid proposal 1 for sure. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Malcolm. Deb?
Yeah, I like proposal 2, the historic name. It seems weird in a little subdivision that really has nothing to do with any of that, like the shrub thing, and keeping with rows and walks. And I just think that makes more sense for a little subdivision like that.
Okay. Jeff, you have another comment?
No, I'd just like to make a recommendation that the Planning and Development Committee support proposal number 2 to forward to council. I'm assuming this has to go to council to be approved.
Yeah, we have to amend the bylaw, the map.
Okay, Malcolm?
Second.
Second and number 2? Okay, and I just have one comment before we vote. On proposal number 3, the developer, I mean, everybody knows that area as Troughton Place. Did he not want a street named after him, or would that be the subdivision name? I don't know. I was just curious why.
Well, it's a new developer now.
That's true.
Yeah.
Still called Jalta.
It's still Delta, but the directors are different.
Okay,
Yeah, and they were happy to just leave them as Avenue A and Street 1.
okay, well, we have a motion on the floor and we have a seconder. All in favor? Carried unanimously. All right, great. Thank you very much. Really good. Okay. We also have item F, Main Street revitalization. That's going to be Steffi. Thank you.
So, as part of the Main Street revitalization plan, staff collected feedback from public, people survey and Zoom workshop from July 1 to August 7. So the survey was open from July 1st to August 7, by the end of which we got 117 responses. So a public consultation report that includes survey and workshop responses. The survey included questions like what the south side of Main Street should prioritize, what type of activities should it support, on-street and off-street parking, and questions focusing on sidewalk. So majority of the respondents expressed the importance of having a sidewalk with community space within intervals, like patios, seating areas to rest, easy access to visitors, and the importance of parking as well, on-street parking, also supporting some kind of activities in Shoe Swap and Riverside. for street furnishings such as more waste receptacles, seatings, public art, bike racks, etc. So at the end of the survey, participants were asked to select a street design model out of the options that was given. And 37% of the respondents chose option 4 and 30% chose option 3. So option 3 included a median with landscaping, with shared bicycle and travel lane and extended sidewalk of 5.5 meter with landscaping and rolling work towards the south side. And option 4 included a travel lane of 3.5 meter, a designated bike path, on-street parking, which is parallel parking in this case, and a 3.9 meter wide sidewalk with boulevard and landscaping. So the next steps would be to have a discussion with the DOS operations department to talk about the feasibility of these options, cost estimate, and to produce a cross section based on these factors. So council and staff will need to consider the community health center, its location on Main Street, and how that development will impact this whole Main Street revitalization as well. So the next one is just talking about Main Street access option. This is a site plan which actually shows the location, the proposed location of the center, shared parking, family housing, and proposed senior housing. So this shows a narrow driveway of 7 meter coming from the Main Street, 3.5 meter per lane and 3 meter per sidewalk and landscaping, which is a total of 10 meter in this case, to access the healing center and shared parking space. In this option, the driveway is being extended to the family housing as well. And the Gordon Mackey Lane has been extended a little bit. There's an existing unpaved pathway, which would be what paved in this case, to access the proposed senior housing. However, the seniors with scooters or wheelchairs can access the Main Street through the sidewalk going through the family housing and healing center towards the Main Street, instead of having to go all the way around. So the 10 meter right of way will remain unpaved. So Urban Systems already presented 3 access options. One was through the Main Street shared access with the healing center, and the one through Gordon Mackey Lane, and the third one is through Paradise. So this site plan basically combines 2 accesses from Main Street and Gordon Mackey Lane. Next one, the access to Paradise, we did a sort of analysis just to see what are the challenges in that. Some of the challenges that came out while doing an analysis of this access option was that there's an existing high traffic intersection in the beginning of Paradise, which is Paradise and Main Street, and then the end of Paradise, which is Paradise and Highway 97, along with driveways coming onto Paradise Avenue from adjacent properties. So as per OCP Schedule E, community connectivity, there are existing trails going parallel to the Paradise Ave, and the proposed trails going perpendicular as well. So if there's going to be another T-junction that is proposed to the north of the proposed senior housing, we need to think about a few things. One, it will need to be paved with sidewalks, lighting, and other services. So just to think about the cost associated with it. To think about, the cost of paving your roads with sidewalk services, which potentially be a little bit expensive than the previous option. Number 2, that this is not going to make it easier for seniors with scooters or wheelchairs to access the main center. Also, some of the things to think about are, if the road, which is extending all the way to Gordon Mackey Lane through Paradise, can this be accessed by anyone? Is there a possibility of people using that as a shortcut to get into other parts of downtown? And if so, how could that be controlled? Anyway, the requirement of extra traffic calming measures would be required, especially with walking trails and school zone in the area. That is the analysis of that Paradise option. And show how the driveway would look from the main street. This is 10-meter, 7-meter lane, and then 3-meter sidewalk with landscaping. Just to show that it's just going to look like another driveway and not a properly paved wide road. Yeah, and that's it, open to discussion.
First off, Steffi, I got to thank you very much. This is a great presentation and it's really well laid out. Thank you. Terry, sorry.
Just a question for Stephanie. I was just looking at page 2 here and we take a look at the laneway. We have the family housing thing. Was there ever consideration where the laneway would go straight through from Paradise all the way to Shuswap?
No, I haven't seen that option. Option maybe in future.
Yeah.
I don't know, but the option that was submitted by Urban Systems cut through the garden macularly in this option. But in future, if that's the case, that's why like people would just use it as a shortcut, and then what would be the traffic in that area? So who would use that? Would that be used by family housing and seniors as well? And yeah, just controlling that access.
Because I could see where it could be a way, like it could be a one-way in and a one-way out. Anyway, just a thought. I thought I'd bring it forward, but Scott, so.
Terry, just real quick, Scott, you want to say something real quick?
So I was just gonna ask, were you suggesting that Gordon Mackey Lane be extended all the way to Paradise? Yeah, and then, and this, one thing I was thinking about that could be how close it is to the corner of Highway 97. If someone was taking a left north and someone coming off Highway 97, I don't know about the sightlines. And the other reason I think that it was identified at the north side of that seniors housing property is because there is a road reserve or a statutory right of way that exists right now. So if, you know, someone in the past said in the future, the road's going to be at the north side of this property, I think that's perhaps why that was considered as the access.
Thanks, Scott. Jeff?
Good job, well laid out, and exactly as Scott said, there is a 10-meter road right away there. Ready? My concern is the OCP is very clear. There's no access. And we're going to start burying it today. Like that's lunacy. Rhoda in her letter that's later in the council states that, you know, well, you've got a couple driveways coming in off of Main Street. Yes, we do. But the idea was that there would be a different point of access to this. So the family housing is 1.5 acres, which is only supposed to be 1 acre. I don't know which side it's going to be on. Second question is through the engineering, Jeremy or whoever, where are the services coming in from? Again, we're going to bring the services off Main Street. We're hooped on this deal. They got to bring the services in from Gordon Mackey or however they're coming into that property, from their own property, not from our property. Because once we put the services down that proposed road, that will never come out. So I'm not interested in doing that. If we do a temporary road for consideration, as Scott said to me earlier, I'm okay with it, but it is never going to be serviced through Main Street. Because that guarantees that way in will never be closed. The other consideration is that when you look at the page 1, dentist office, and the way the property is laid out, and his driveway is right beside his building, that anybody considered having a negotiation because he already has the thing, as that would be a temporary thing, and then they could create the parking lot behind him on the rest of his property. There's so many variants to how this could be done. And if we start out wrong by giving them a road with the services coming in, so I wouldn't make a decision on any of this stuff, and I'll try my best to convince council to stay it until they figure out where the services are coming from. They have that 10-meter right away, and we have water and sewer on Paradise, and that's where their services should come into this development. That ensures that that road will not be there for perpetuity. So, my comment.
Thank you, Jeff. Malcolm, you had a comment?
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, on this first page here, I don't know why it doesn't show the road allowance going all the way through from Paradise to Shoe Shop, because I thought it existed all the way through.
Does.
Oh, yeah, it is consistent.
So I think that's important, and I think it's being overlooked by the Senior Housing Society as a consultant because of the direction from the board to the consultant. So I think it might be in the community's best interest for us to look at it, because the Housing Society is not. And I agree with Scott's comments about it being so close to the intersection of a numbered route, our arterial, Highway 97. So I was thinking, and you would have to have a T intersection, you'd have to have it turned so it's at right angles to Paradise. But why couldn't it be just a one-way street coming off a Shoe Shop one way and out on Paradise, left turn only sort of thing? So you wouldn't impact the intersection of Highway 97, probably get approvals from MOTI on that. And it wouldn't be a full-blown intersection. It would just be a one-way from Shoe Shop to Paradise. And when you hit Paradise, you're forced, it's a left turn only, you know, raised islands forcing you left turn only. So you've got, the access exists, like Councillor Malma said, we have to find out, it shouldn't be driven just by accessibility, but also by services and the cost. This is probably the most expensive option, to build a new road and have it one way from Shoe Shop to Paradise, but no one's ever put anything in front of council showing that option. And I can't understand why not, because we have the road allowance, why aren't we using it? It wouldn't create any more land use from the Housing Society. These buildings are shown here right now are actually encroaching on the right of way. They would have to shift it back, and they say, well, if we shift it back, it would cause us to use more land. Well, they would have to put the building within the existing setback variances or setbacks anyhow. And I would hate to see something presented to council with an access off Main Street and council votes it down. That would be a shame. So, since Finlayson's been not an option anymore, it's been over maybe a year now. Nothing's been presented to council to use the existing road allowance to have a one-way Shoe Shop to Paradise. With coming out on Paradise with a left turn only, you know, with raised islands to channel it that way. It might be the most expensive proposal or option because you'd have to build a road, curb, street, sewer, water, underground electrical. But for long-term vision, it opens up these other two properties for access on the backside. And it keeps access off Main Street for the young family housing portion of the housing proposal.
Okay. Thank you, Malcolm. Jeff?
Through the chair, I like what Councillor McCabe is saying, but I think the one way should go the opposite way, because the ambulance services is there, and they're the ones that want to get in there, and their complaint is driving all the way around now, so they would come, and that would eliminate the traffic coming out onto Paradise, puts it in Shoe Swap, which puts it into our community, not out of our community. So, and it's like I said, if we give in now, it's like a lot of work that was done in the previous years is for naught, right? It's the vision was to have a Main Street, and if you go to any other community, a Main Street is usually solid buildings. There's no way through except walkways usually, and that might be through a store, not through driving your car through there. So at some point, we're hopeful and optimistic that we need Main Street and more space because we have more things coming to the community. And so by putting a road in there, especially if we put the services under that proposed road, we're completely done. that has to be serviced through that laneway off of Paradise. The services are there. That's what they're gonna have to tie into. Other than that, we will, if we'd allowed this, then we're completely finished. We'll never get rid of it.
Yep.
I'm just gonna say, I agree, because, Steffi has just talked about the Main Street revitalization survey and to talk about the things we want to do with Main Street in terms of streetscape and pedestrian. And the more we put traffic, vehicular traffic on the magnitude of this on that street, the less we can do the sorts of things that people are telling us they want us to do.
Okay,
Yeah, thanks. I just have to echo Deb's words and I come taking a look at how we're looking at Main Street revitalization. And I do appreciate you putting this together, Steffi. It's well done. And it's opened up the conversation and now we've got to maybe move into next steps. So, and I also agree, when it comes to the direction of traffic going through there, either or, I would be okay with it. But I have to go back to where we're trying to get to when it comes to our OCP. So, and I see a complete change in Main Street over the next 3 or 4 years, because there is something else that's going to be coming to this planning committee probably within a week or so, with a new proposal for another development on Main Street. So I haven't got all the details on that yet, but this is a very important decision to make.
thank you, Terry. Scott?
Yeah, like the comments about the services like that, like if you don't get the services right, like, if we just said, hey, let's build things as it is, and then Daryl comes in to put the services in, and he's like, hey, this is gonna cost an extra 100,000, 500,000, like that, I've seen it happen and it's a disaster. If you have to kind of start with the services and everything else comes after that. And then I liked the comment from Councilor McKay about the access from the buildings off Main Street. Yeah, those lots are long and skinny with only that one access off Main Street. And you look at that Questview Apartments, there's all that room in front. Yeah, I actually see the value in having that access from the back, so you can split those lots and
They become more usable.
yeah. Oh, yeah, good points.
We have to consider the community. The Eagle Valley Housing Society is their own entity, and we're gonna give them an acre of land, but then it's their problem. But we have to consider what's best for the community, and that is the biggest problem that Sicamous has between the Trans-Canada Highway and Pinlison, the depth of those lots, and then between Main Street and wherever you want to go, the depth of those lots. Like those are all 1,200 feet deep. They're absolutely useless lots.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. Yeah, I agree with, Malcolm and Jeff and everybody. We have that right away, and why don't we use it? And I do think that there should be some kind of scooter access pathway of some sort coming out on the sidewalk somehow, but, a little bit of a shortcut for the seniors so they don't have to go all the way around, and brings you right to Askews. But, yeah, no, I think we got some homework to do with services and yeah, this has been really good comments. Thank you. Anybody else have anything else on that? Oh, Malcolm?
Yeah, it's just information for staff more. So I used to sit on the board of a housing society, and their goal is to, approved by the board, is their long-term goal is to decommission Gordon Mackey Lane and have a gate at the front, fence off the senior section because that's owned by the senior society, and have a gated community here and introduce a form of a dementia facility down the road. So it's in their it's documented. I shared that with staff, I think, at one point. So that's why they want to isolate or separate the young families from the seniors, so they can continue with their long-term vision of gating, fencing and gating, decommissioning Gordon Mackey Lane and introducing a dementia facility in their property there. So that's why we're getting, just so staff understands, that's why we're getting pushback from the housing society to get access off Main Street for the young families, so they can continue with that vision that they have just so that you know the driving forces there.
Good information. Thanks, Malcolm. Scott?
That's a good thing to bring up. Is it next week when the healthcare professionals are going to come in and talk about the healing center? How, like, a dementia care facility could be really important for the community, but again, how is Gates the way you do that? And I think that'd be an interesting question is it Gates or is it something different? Yeah, interesting.
Well, yeah, their vision is a little dated as far as technology goes, because you can use geofencing now these days, and you don't really need a physical fence anymore. So there are different ways to establish a electronic grid, and if someone goes out of bounds, it sets off alarms and that sort of thing.
Shot collar? Sorry.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. No, thanks, Scott. Okay. Steffi, you have anything in closing?
No, so do you guys want me to work on it to see how the plan would look like if we have access through Paradise?
Okay, go ahead, Jeff.
Through the chair, I think it's fairly important that we look at the access and if you can have a brief conversation with Daryl and Jeremy, because the letter for and the proposal is on tonight's council meeting for us to actually make a decision on.
Yeah.
And so they didn't provide a very good drawing of it. And as Councillor McCabe said, their building is on that right of way. They've got the little stick outs on the right of way. And was that intentional or I have no idea, but there is a road allowance there. It's 10 meters. That is very sufficient to put the services in a pathway in a one-way road. So that's, I mean, we either have to make that decision for them and they may have to make their decision based on that. So.
Okay, Deb, did you have your hand up?
That's good.
Okay. Scott, you're recommending, like, we have to make a decision, or they want a decision tonight. Are we gonna defer it for a bit until staff has time to look at services and stuff like that? Or do you want to try to do some homework today so we're ready for tonight?
I don't know if a decision is necessary tonight, like, I'm not sure. But yeah, we'll talk to Daryl and maybe at the meeting, he can speak to it. Yeah.
Okay, and Steffi, would we just a revised plan with that 10-meter right away going all the way through? Because if we do have to discuss it tonight with the Seniors Housing Society, we can, explain to them about the 10-meter right away all the way along there. Does that sound okay, Terry?
Yeah, no, it's coming to the agenda tonight, and if staff needs more time, we can rescind it. It's up to you guys. You can let us know whether if you can get your ducks in a row by then. If not, if you need more time, we'll give you more time. It's a decision that needs to be made, and it's got to be made right.
Okay. Okay, sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, and so if we're going to do this exercise off Paradise, we need to express the importance of the access to these other two lots as well through that laneway that makes them subdividable, which makes them considerably more valuable. It also helps us with access to our parking with that one-way lane. We don't need it off Main Street to get into the healing center, which then we can also offer through that laneway parking for their housing thing, but it would be parking for ours as well. So it does a lot of things for us. We must consider what's best for the community, not what's best for Eagle Valley Housing Society. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sounds good. Thanks, Jeff.
One more comment to the chair. We got the letter from Rona and they're expecting a decision to be made, and they're probably expecting some sort of response from us. And if we could get this done tonight, it would be beneficial based on the fact that they, I know Evan got a call in regards to Rona from Aaron, to, well, what kind of decision has the council made? And we haven't actually had this conversation until now. So if we could get it done today, it would be beneficial because they are expecting a response.
Okay, thanks, Terry. Malcolm?
Yes, I agree with the mayor. In that letter, if I can remember, they said that their funding is now frozen from BC Housing until a decision's made on the access. Our actions or this, whatever the planning committee recommends to council, and council's actions will directly impact the PC, their funding that they have. So currently, they're not allowed to spend any more money on planning or anything. Their funding's froze, subject to council's decision this evening. So the mayor is right that it is a timely thing, that it's a big, tough decision, but I think it needs to be made. And if we could have a little more information on where the utilities are and how that would work.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. We're all good with that?
Yeah.
We got our marching orders?
Have to go, don't we?
We're good to go. We have to go.
Okay, looks like we're gonna adjourn this meeting to thank the staff and the attendee.
No.
Sorry?
No.
You still have the zoning bylaw.
Gee, sorry, yeah. Okay, I missed that one.
To another fun meeting regarding boundaries.
Okay, we'll let Terry and Jeff head upstairs for their next meeting. Okay, item G, new business, district Sicamous zoning bylaw number 1000, 2021. That'll be Scott.
Yeah. Do you want to go out of the PowerPoint and go to the website on our projects page, and it might be easier to use that? This, the district of Sicamous, and then the projects and the zoning bylaw is. But yeah, so the zoning bylaw was given first reading at the August 11th council meeting. We sent out referrals and we're getting things back. We got quite a big response from the ALC. And then we've also scheduled some public consultation. So tomorrow we have a open house, and then in the evening we have a Zoom meeting. And then the next week we have another open house and a Zoom meeting. Those are ones next week where we're calling them kind of the business ones, where you have to register to participate. The other ones are public kind of open house. We've met with a couple different groups who've brought us their questions or concerns. On them, we had one person who lives just a little bit south of town, who she went through the whole bylaw kind of from her perspective and her experience as a parks planner in Kelowna. So that was really valuable. So we're accepting information now. We have a list of changes that people have suggested, and we're still open for suggestions. I thought this would be a good opportunity for the committee to provide us any feedback they've heard, or any personal feedback, or any feedback from their experience.
Okay, thank you, Scott.
You can jump back and forth between zones. You can look at the map.
Yeah, I just gotta pick up my stuff here.
Try to arrange the bylaw. We have fewer definitions than were originally proposed, and then more information in the general regulations. And we find, put as much information in the general regulations as possible and just keep the zones pretty simple. One thing is when you have a use in a zone, so the first version of the bylaw we looked at, it had 250 definitions, and then it had 57 zones, or I think it was 57 or 51 zones. And every time there's a use in a zone, it excludes it from every other zone. So when you have many zones, someone says, I want a ice cream shop, and someone says, I want a coffee shop. And if you have those specific things defined in each zone, then that excludes them. While if you have eating establishment that includes coffee shop and ice cream shop, then provides a little bit more flexibility. makes it easier for staff who, someone's calling in and asking a question, you can go to a zone, you see the uses, you become familiar with uses, and you're not always going back and forth between each zone looking for a very specific use. Another thing in the definitions, say if you said, you know, a single family dwelling is 1,000 square feet, then if someone wanted to vary that, because it's in the definition, a house is defined as that, you can't vary the use. But if you know, single family dwellings defined as this, and in the general regulations, you say, you know, 1,000 square feet is what a single family dwelling should be, then someone can vary that in the general regulations. Obviously, single family dwelling is a bad example, but you know, you might use accessory building or chicken coop or something like that. So you kind of keep those more specific things out of definitions and you keep them in the general regulations. I think we've come very close in the map. We don't have a lot of mapping changes. There's kind of these odd one-offs that, you know, kind of come up as we work with, you know, a lot of it's inquiries or just working with people who have questions about this. But I think we're really close on the map. We went with adding some of the park definitions to the water to protect those uses, so the more public areas. We did start with 3 zones: agricultural, rural residential, and country residential, and we've gone down to just country residential and rural and agriculture right now. But yeah, anything that committee's heard from the public or any personal experience, we'd be open to it.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Yeah, I think you guys done a great job streamlining it. It was a pretty large document when we got it back from our consultant, and it was overwhelming. And it's now scaled down and it's makes it a little more usable, user-friendly. I just on the zoning, the index part of it, you know, you got division 1 under definitions and 2 is administration, I think it is, and then 3 is general regulations, which you talked about, which is kind of like more definitions. It just I didn't know if that was a little bit confusing because you got definitions and then you kind of got definitions 3. So I just I just was a little, I'm not sure if it's me or is that, you know, just the way the index is laid out. It's just that was one of my comments. And maybe I need to spend a little more time in it and get used to it, but I'm just thinking from the general public, yeah, a little bit. I don't know if I'm being confused because there's almost 2 definitions, but anyway, that's one thing. And then getting onto the map, I just kind of was looking at a couple of the zoning and we even discussed something yesterday there about the Owlhead one. That's at Jamie Hodgkin's property on the Owlhead area. It was a CDZ zone, it's not ALR. So we talked about that yesterday. Yeah, that one there. Yeah. Yeah, that one there. So that you have as an ALR. Another one I noticed was the rezoning, the Brian Winder's property. We have it down for, I think it's country residential, where it was rezoned in 2008 to resort commercial.
Oh, that's further south.
That one there, yeah.
Yeah, that's an error on my part. I need to-
Okay, no.
So it's still one parcel.
Yeah, yep, no problem. That was just one. I had, and then we had 200 Main as a park. It was green as a park. It's not only not designated as a park, it's still, is it, we didn't designate it as park as council, did we?
No, no.
So I don't know if that's, I think that's commercial. Commercial, I think. But something just to look at.
I think we're calling it a green space.
That's it. We are kind of referring to it as a park, but it's not designated. I know we talked about that, about designated as a park, and we said, you know, I think councils was unanimous saying, no, we don't want to designate it a park yet until we know what we're doing with it.
What, like in Main Street Landing,
Yeah, Main Street Landing, or like Main Street Landing is a park.
it is a park now.
Highway.
It's a road allowance.
Road allowance.
It's a road. allowance.
That's why I'm looking at Malcolm going, it's a road allowance.
Yeah, Main Street Landing's not a park for sure. It's a road allowance.
Right. It's okay to put it in park, but we're using it as park.
No, you give the people, the public, wrong perception.
well, it's up to you guys, but you can.
Well, I mean, there's an in-camera agenda for a proposal that might involve that. So if it's shown as a park, and if the public sees it as a park, like Portside when they were fighting for no bridge at the end of Main Street, trying to call it a park, and if they see an OCP plan showing it green identified as a park, it just gives the wrong public perception.
Yeah, good point, Malcolm and Deb.
I just saw the green and I went, and I'm looking at you.
Good point. Another one I had was boat launches. I noticed at in the channel, there's a few different colors there. And I'm thinking it's a foreshore lease for the boat launch. I'm not 100% sure, but there's not one for Capel Street.
You zoom in on Capel there?
Yeah, those little green, what are they? What are those green things that go across the channel? Those ones, yeah, do you know?
Yeah, those are group orange, so there's stratas there.
And
Okay,
And it's loosely based on the tenure, but it's not 100%. But it's in line, so the zoning lines up with the boundaries of the property that it's tied to.
So those are water tenures for Stratus?
Yeah, yeah, so they're only being recognized where they actually have a lease on the water. So I think the main point where there's a point there, but there's no lease on it.
I believe the dark green on the water is W3, which is Marina. And then isn't W2 group moorage?
Oh, sorry, yeah, so this would be group and this would be commercial.
okay. Yeah. So should we have noted our foreshores at the boat launch? Do we need to note those? Where the boat launches are?
We've just made it park.
I think they're looking at Capel Street.
Capel, say, for example.
Like Capel or Wet Up
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
there's the public boat launching at Capel there.
right there, and there's one on Wet Up and there's one on Martin.
Yeah, so the W1 was meant to allow for public uses.
Okay,
We'll talk about maybe that park zone on all the street ends. I know it's like the CSRD did with their at the time though, we're using subdivision line everywhere and it was meant to be functions.
Okay.
Quite work, so yeah, we could zone all the ends.
okay. I just inquired about it. And the last one I picked up on the map was Legacy, Grandview and Marescape. On the map there, if you could take it down, Steffi, and zoom it up there. Where the Legacy is there, right on the corner. We have two of them multifamily residential R1 or R1. And then one tourist resort. Is that, it just said, struck me. Is that correct? Those, the two yellow ones? No, you had it.
Family.
Yeah,
So these are, like, so this is reflects the zoning that's there currently. So they're multifamily. And the strategy as far as short-term rentals was along Riverside Ave in the town center. So those have a commercial zone on them instead of multifamily.
Okay,
So it needs people to come to. You're right, though, because that building,
that's the Legacy.
the Legacy. They do have short,
They do.
and I think they recently voted to keep them.
And-
Also talked to,
and they're zoned commercial right now.
okay, so we did capture that.
We did capture that.
Okay,
So yeah, so these guys, I have talked to two people from the Strata. Houses we have. heard from any of the others.
Oh, that's good. Really good information. Really good information. Deb, you have anything?
No, that's, we were talking a little bit before, but I've got to take another look.
Malcolm, you're good?
No, I'm good. Kim. Does staff need anything from the committee on this agenda topic?
I think eventually we'll want a recommendation of support council for second reading, but yeah, we still have our public consultation to do, so we'll bring that back to this committee prior to bringing it to council. So, yeah.
That's good. I mean, I have lots of points, but I want to come to the open houses. So I'm going to attend a couple of them if I can. But no, you guys are doing a great job. It's really looking good.
Thanks.
Looking good. Thank you.
Sarah's done all the hard work, so.
No, thank you. Okay, I guess we can move on. Does anybody have any other comments? No? Brian, yeah, have anything from the gallery? Okay, thank you. Well, just again, I'd like to thank staff and attendees that are online and our committee members. Thanks for all your help and yeah, recommend that the Planning and Development Committee meeting for September 8th be adjourned at 9:20. Malcolm, Deb seconder. All in favor? Carried. Okay, thank you.
Question for this afternoon's meeting. It says there's a delegation at 1 o'clock. Is that open to the public and then it goes in camera?
Well, technically, it's open and then closed right away.
Yeah, I noticed that.
So it's,
That's not open to the
no, that's